Well, it's here. After 8.5 years since the original came to an end, the revival has arrived. Let me just say this right now that after watching the first 3 episodes from this revival, I have to admit that it was mostly a long time coming to see so many changes, and I have to admit that the first 3 episodes involving returning characters along with new characters, this show is a lot more different in the fact that we can easily see this show as its own thing. Because for one, these episodes have different plots that they didn't have in the original. And that's something I can easily admire and what the creativity of iCarly can do for the future. Let me just say this right now that the episode I'm going to be reviewing today, iFauxpologize, sums up everything that what this show is going to be about. Spencer shows his friends his sculpture that he created, which didn't impress Carly so much that he puked out the food that Spencer made, which Harper took a picture of, and memes galore happen, which leads to Carly and Harper gain the attention, which really made Spencer completely devastated. So much to the point that Carly is really obsessed on selling merchandise. Let me remind you that aside from the episode where Carly made a shirt for Sam, this is actually the first time where she is experiencing merch by the meme that Harper created. Granted, Carly didn't know what was happening when it comes to Harper taking the picture, but let me just say this right now, anything can happen out of the ordinary, to the point that it can easily be mostly attention given, considering that iCarly in the original didn't have anything to do with memes. I mean, yes, memes were a thing back then, but they were not mainstream as today's standards. However, at the same time, the fact that they use the meme against Spencer to the point that he's completely devastated, it really goes to show that Spencer really has some kind of sense he has compared to the later seasons of iCarly. Let me just say this right now that when it comes to new episodes from this revival, I would probably compare them to the later seasons of the original, because as you can tell, the later seasons were much more different compared to the earlier seasons. And every time I could be able to look at this episode, along with the 2 episodes before, Spencer really shouldn't have been this character compared to how he was in the later seasons of the original, since that he actually have some kind of sanity in his character. Granted, his appearance in the 2 episodes before this involves him trying to help out Carly with her web show again, but at the same time, he's basically dealing with grown-up stuff compared to how he was in the original. I mean, sure, he does make sculptures like he did, but at the same time, it's not in the way where he wants to be like he was before. Besides, seeing the old Spencer in this will probably be a lot more disappointing to see how his character hasn't changed whatsoever. Same goes to Carly and Freddy. Freddy in this has an adopted nephew called Millicent, and to be quite honest, she's like Sam except that she isn't violent. To be perfectly clear, I really think that the reason why they added Millicent in the show is so that they can have a replacement Sam. Granted, it really wasn't the case when it comes to the previous 2 episodes, when it comes to Millicent annoying Freddy, which she doesn't, but every time I instantly see moments like these, I instantly have Freddy and Sam rivalry flashbacks from the original. I would instantly hate this character when it comes to how she's like Sam when it comes to the teleport moments from Sam in the original, but the thing is, unlike Sam, Millicent is mostly the youngest child in this show compared to how the other characters were aged to teenagers in the original. If you really think that the original is mostly different when it comes to how the characters act towards each other, I'm really thankful that most of the characters, aside from Millicent, is a lot more mature, mostly for the fact that they know each other so much, and the fact that Harper and Millicent are the new characters in this. I shouldn't expect a lot from the new characters in this, and the fact that the actor playing Harper in this got mostly backlash because Sam isn't part of this show. I need to make one thing clear. If Sam did appear in this show, if Jeanette McCauley actually accepted to be in this revival, then I'm pretty sure that her character wouldn't do much changes when it comes to how she acted in the original. Besides, she already have her own spin-off Sam and Cat, so it really feels like she already got her own show before this show came around, and that was in the 2010s while this came out in this decade. But since I've mentioned Harper a few times in this review, let's go talk about her. I think that having her in the show makes the show have its own identity, so I actually found her really entertaining. Granted, when it comes to her future appearances, it could be an improvement, but at the same time, we still don't know how this revival is going to be like. All I can say is that in episodes like these and previous, she's mostly just trying to be the best friend with Carly, unlike Sam. I know full well that there's going to be a few episodes centering around Carly and Harper, but considering that we've seen so many moments between Carly and Sam in the original, I highly doubt that we're going to see episodes like those being revived in this revival, if you know what I mean. But considering that we have returning characters Noah Dershowitz from the last episode and Neville Papperman in a future episode, the characters are probably going to change for the mature way of what this show is going for, but in a different way, because just by seeing one clip of Neville Papperman, I'm pretty sure that he's never going to change whatsoever. Noah Dershowitz, she's somewhat changed, except that she's mostly a psycho. Still a psycho since the original, and still a psycho in this revival. But considering that most of the iCarly material from the original isn't coming back for the revival, I have to assume that the way that Carly is recording herself to do iCarly in her own way instead of the way that she did when she was a teenager, I have to admit, I can easily relate to Carly in this, because nowadays people are vlogging constantly to the point that they want to make everything so important when it comes to someone else's life outside in the real world while they record themselves on the internet. So I actually found bits and pieces of this where Carly is just trying to give Spencer some kind of attention just so that she can ignore the meme that was posted online. But considering that the internet has improved so much to the point that 2012 became one of the classics when it comes to old school internet, Carly really doesn't even understand of how everyone around her are a lot more different compared to how she was with so many people in her school. Believe me when I say this, is that when it comes to cancel culture, it's way over the internet by this point. And just seeing bits and pieces of this in this episode, I can easily tell that they took inspiration from the internet a lot more in the current generation. If you ask me, it's extremely unescapable, to the point that no matter what you do, you just can't fight back, because there's always going to be a group of people hating on something, not to mention put the attention on the meme itself. In the last episode, Carly is mostly obsessed with this hater completely trashing her to the point that she just can't be able to take it anymore, and she thought that it was Noah Dershowitz, but apparently it wasn't Noah Dershowitz. So if you ask me, I really think that this is going to take so many ideas in the present generation compared to the old generations from the late 2000s and the early 2010s. And trust me, even if I'm not going to be reviewing the latest episodes from the show because of my limitations, I will still review the episodes that are mostly important, and this is one of them. I had 3 options: the first episode, the second episode, and this episode. And I feel like reviewing this episode is a lot more important considering that the internet has improved so much that Carly needs to make adjustments. And considering that most of the apartments are completely different and mostly not what they were before in the original, I am actually going to be looking forward to how they're going to take this iCarly route. Even though that I've already have an iCarly review set for my Summerpalooza 3 videos, mainly from the original in Season 4, I am still going to be reviewing another episode from this show for my September schedule, and before any of you ask, no, it's not going to be the 3 episodes that have just been released today. I'm going to wait for a future episode that caught my interest so I can make that review for my September schedule. I would keep up with it, but at the same time, making daily videos isn't something I usually do like Carly does when it comes to going to doing live streams, which I don't do live streams, and going to different places in order to fix the issue that she mostly caused, but mostly Harper since that she took the picture. So all in all, the first 3 episodes of the revival is working out for me. Granted, I didn't laugh all the jokes, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that with comedy in this or not, I can easily handle it without it. Granted, I did like most of the jokes from the original, but who knows, maybe when something happens in the show, I might laugh at a joke, but only time will tell. As for this episode of iFauxpologize, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. Welcome back, iCarly.
Let's get this started again. Me and my whole